Right, well, Nigel Farage was confronted yesterday on his views on immigration.
Apparently you're anti-immigrants. And
Who told you that?
Oh, the internet.
Well, there we are, then. It must be true. It must be true.
It must be.
It must be true.
Okay, but then why don't black people like you?
You'd be amazed, they do.
Well,
You'd be amazed.
Nigel!
If you
Well, is it possible to have a reasonable conversation about migration? Joining us to reaction for that extraordinary exchange, but also today's migration figures, is GB News presenter Albi Amankona. Albi, thanks for joining us. Firstly, your reaction to that extraordinary exchange between those two campmates in the jungle last night.
What a bizarre exchange. I couldn't imagine ever trying to debate a point with Emily back when she was on the Saturday 5 and her asking me where I got the source from and me saying from the internet. I mean, it is just such a weak argument. I think it just really is quite disappointing when you see young people going on television. They're given a platform on a national show, one of the biggest shows in the country, like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and then they make a complete fool of themselves, like Nella has. And actually, in the first couple of episodes, I really liked Nella. I thought she might end up being the next Alison Hammond, and then she let herself down with the disagreement she had with Fred when he said he's old enough to be her dad. And then I think she really let herself down last night in her discussion with Nigel, where she basically claimed that he was racist because he supported Brexit and that black people didn't like Nigel Farage. I'm a black person. I like Nigel Farage. I might not agree with him on everything, but I certainly like him as a colleague.
Well, do you think it actually played in Nigel Farage's favour then? He looked like the reasonable one.
Possibly. I think it all depends on who is watching. It might well play in Nigel's favour with GB News viewers, people who are fans of Nigel Farage. But we've got to remember when it comes to Nella, she's a huge TikTok star, a huge star on YouTube as well. It might actually play out quite well with her fans that she has told Nigel Farage that he's anti-immigration and had a bit of a barney with him. So I would imagine that both people's sets of fans from the I'm a Celebrity stars will be pleased with the exchange which happened. But I'm very clear, I don't like what I saw.
It was interesting. What Nigel was trying to say is that he wanted lower migration. Then what Nella responded with, so you want me kicked out of the country? It seemed like there was a sort of cognitive dissonance there between some lower inflow and outflow. Do you think that people talk cross purposes in this conversation?
I think we live in a world where people talk in absolutes. If you think we want lower migration, it means you want to kick all immigrants who live in this country out. If you think we want higher migration, it means that you think we should have open borders, when actually, if you talk to most people about migration, they all believe it should be controlled. Most people think 745,000 people come to the country in 1 year is probably too much, and we should look to get it back down to a more manageable level. And I don't think it's really helped by the internet. We're just all in our silos all of the time. We're not necessarily exposed to reasonable opposite opinions. So I just don't really think the conversation has been helped very much. But look, the figures that we've seen today are just too high, and we need to have an honest conversation about how we bring them back down.
I mean, Albi, you've been reasonably liberal when it comes to immigration. I just had a little look at your Twitter X feed. You've said there's nothing moderate about numbers like this. This is a radical immigration policy.
Absolutely. Look, I'm a moderate conservative, Emily. You know that. There is absolutely nothing moderate about 745,000 people coming into the country in 1 year. That is a radical immigration policy, as I said. You know, we came into power, the Conservatives, back in 2010 with the Liberal Democrats with a pledge to bring back immigration down into the tens of thousands with what we then would call a moderate Lib Dem Conservative government led by Nick Clegg and, of course, David Cameron, who's back in the cabinet now, a moderate government, a government which I supported. If now we've allegedly shifted to the right, but immigration is now 2 or 3 times what it was pre-Brexit under Cameron and Clegg, something's clearly gone very wrong. And I find it very interesting that, in fact, after Brexit, the tax burden has gone up and immigration has gone up. So you could probably argue that the Conservative Party has become less conservative after Brexit than before.